Stacy Rost here, one half of Bumpin' Stacy, and to get you ready for Week 12 against the Tennessee Titans, here is the Seahawks weekend warm-up, our favorite interviews and moments ahead of this week.
What did you take away from that? I don't, honestly, I'm sort of joking. I did not panic after that loss. I don't think it was the end of the world. I still think there's a lot of positive, and it doesn't really deter me on my thoughts about where the Seahawks could go this year. But what did you make of it?
I mean, call me a crazy optimist, but I thought they were clearly the better team in the game. I mean, they dominated the game in just about every way you can dominate, except they had turnovers, and they had a chance to win the game at the end of the game. Like all that stuff happened. Usually you get four interceptions. You have no shot in a game, but yet there they were. We can do the Sam stuff. We can go a lot of different areas you want to go, but I mean, I left that game thinking two things. Number one, based off the end of the game, Sam Darnold, even after that performance, was not broken, that he still had it in him to get him down the field. And number two was, I mean, look, if that's as bad as you turn the ball over and all those things, and you still have a chance to win that football game, like they're going to be just fine.
How you don't really get to watch TV copy, right? I mean, this is all based
no.
I
just watched the tape. Yeah,
that's the beauty of chatting with you each and every week. There's not any bias to what you hear, what you see, or what the optics of a TV camera can give you. You're just straight looking at the all 22, correct?
Correct.
So obviously that still flashes the score, right? Because time score gives you some of those things. But you're saying if you just watch the 79 snaps offensively of the Seahawks and the 51 of the Rams, in your opinion, physically, it was pretty clear who the better team was?
I thought so. I mean, I thought they were able to hold up the line of scrimmage on both sides. For the negative Sam stuff and their big ones, the interceptions, he made more big time throws in that game than Stafford did. I was going through it and I was kind of thinking, Brock, like it was some of it almost you wonder if they could have protected him from himself a little bit with that game. In other words, like, if you think about swimming in the ocean when you're a kid and, they might have, maybe there's a shark warning or something, or maybe there's like buoys where you say, hey, the tide's too strong here. Let's stay out of this area of the water, swim over here, but not here. Like the Rams, clearly they wanted to funnel things to the middle of the field, and they had robber player in there that was free and loose that could just read Sam. And they got him a couple times. Everything they did at the perimeter, whether it was underneath where you could watch JSN break tackles, whether it was down the field, you get the amazing one-handed catch as well as a bunch of other completions, like big-time drive throws but out of harm's way on the perimeter. That to me should have been a little bit more of the focus in that and kind of save him from himself and some of the danger that lurked in the middle of the field.
So I'm not killing Sam. But don't think that it's fair to kind of go back to saying there are still some buts, some question marks about whether or not Sam is truly one of the guys who can be among the elite quarterbacks in the game.
I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, he's got to do it in the bigger stages. I'd much rather kind of learn this lesson for him in this game than to learn it in like he learned it last year, at the very end of the season. So, yeah, I mean, look, you can't have games like that in big games. But, I mean, I'm coming off – it's hard for me to say that when I'm coming off of a trip that I just took to Jacksonville and watch the Chargers lose 35-6. Like, you're not gonna have it every single week as an individual or collectively as a team. So I'm gonna,
I think the fear with Sam isn't the consistency of it. It's the question. It's not even a fear. It's just a question because it hasn't been answered yet. Not can he do it consistently, but can he do it against the best in the biggest moments? I think that's the one question I think we –
Tampa's pretty good, right?
Yeah. They didn't win.
He played great. What do you have, 4 touchdowns through a zillion yards?
Until the final drive.
Well, until he got smacked at the end.
Until the final drive.
He played winning. I thought he played winning football in that Tampa game. And I'm just trying to think of off the top of my head the good teams that they've played.
Well, San Francisco has actually been pretty good. They lost that one, and unfortunately, in the first game of the season. Pittsburgh's been pretty good, and they beat them, which was great. Sam played tremendously in that game. Washington was better when they played him, but still not very good. Arizona stinks. New Orleans stinks. So, I mean, like, he's played a mixture of teams. Again, this isn't a shot. It's hard to ask this question without it sounding like I'm sitting here saying, I don't think Sam Darnold is good. He's been awesome, and I'm really excited about him, and I like what he's done. I'm not quite ready to crown here on week 10 because I just want to see more and more against the really good teams. I want to see what happens against Indy. I want to see what happens against the Rams in game 2 on Thursday Night Football in front of the country. Like, I want to see those things before making like a final determination on what I think this guy is.
Can we find common ground though? Can we say he's in the, let's say he's firmly in the top 8 to 12 quarterback range? Like, can we agree that he's at least in that neighborhood?
100%. Like, to me, that's not even up for debate right now based on how he's played, not just this year, but the last 2.
That's where I'm kind of at. It's like, okay, I will. My thing is people saying like he's not, it's almost like he's not any good, and is he a quality starter? Like, no, we've crossed that bridge a long time ago. That was when I was saying the no buts. Now, if you want to talk about getting into the Josh Allen, Mahomes, into that neighborhood, like start where those elite guys
right
are.
Behind
he's
those
not
guys.
there.
Or even just behind those guys, right? Like, okay, I don't need him to be Josh Allen. I don't think he's got the physical, the full skill set to be Josh Allen. Nobody does other than maybe Lamar, right? I mean, like those guys have freak show abilities. But to be right after that, to be a guy that's going to win playoff games, that's going to take this team to an NFC championship or a Super Bowl, I think the jury's still out on that, and I think you're right. He's a good quarterback. I know he's in the top third. I want to find out if he can be in the top 5 or 6.
And I think another good win, by the way. I think another good win was the win in Jacksonville. I mean, the Chargers went down there, a good team, and just got absolutely mollywopped. And, Sam and the crew went down there and took that game from him.
How good is this defense?
They played great, man. There was only a couple things I would say that just – it was the first kind of rookie game I thought for Eamon in that I thought they attacked his eyes a little bit, where he was a little bit late to trigger on some things just because they gave him some other things to look at in terms of, some motions and different things that way. I thought that there's a couple plays where he was a little bit lost.
Do you think some of that could be because he played more? He played the third most snaps of anybody on the defense after Ernest Jones and Kobe Bryant. Do you think some of that is just maybe an initial exposure to playing as much as he did?
I think it's more so a compliment to McVay and how everything can look the same, and you give you a little bit of guesswork there, whether it's run or pass. He's really, really good at designing all that stuff, and I thought there were some times where he was just kind of a little bit guessing and not playing quite as sure. He's been really good, up until this point of just pulling the trigger. Just trust it, go. And I thought they created a little bit of hesitancy in him in this game.
How about the rest? How about up front though?
It was awesome. Across the board, all those guys were making plays. I mean, everybody on the front. When you go through it, it's not just one guy. It's 0, it's 7, it's 53, it's 99's getting doubled, and they can't move him. It's a really, really complete effort. They had a couple missed tackles. You get the missed tackle, 39 out in space, you miss tackle, and they score a touchdown. And I thought the Rams actually did a pretty good job of getting up to Ernest Jones. They got clean up to him a couple times, and they were able to get a few runs because of that. But then I thought McDonald is such a good coach that they just a little subtle adjustment. I was curious about it because they had some angles to him. So then they just started lining him up near the line of scrimmage. And then you eliminate the angles. And if they want to throw, he could, he was backing out at times, but he kind of changed the way they could attack him because they were able to get up to him a little bit.
Considering the performance that Sam Darnold had this week, and Rob, I felt so bad for the dude because this was what you're trying to avoid all year. Me personally, I still think he's going to be fine. I think he can bounce back from this. But what were your initial thoughts as you're seeing interception after interception?
I think, like you say, really disappointed for him because he has come on such a journey in his career, and he's got to a point now in Seattle where people are looking at him and thinking he's turned a corner and that he's in the MVP race, and then it all comes crashing down in one game. And because the defense played so well, it's very easy to point the finger solely at him and say, well, the Seahawks would have won even if he'd only thrown 3 interceptions instead of 4. Like, then maybe the Seahawks would have won that game. So there's going to be a lot of a focus and attention on him now. anytime the Seahawks play a big game, whether that's going to be the rematch against the Rams, if it's even going to be against the Colts, if it's going to be in the playoffs down the line, the narrative is going to be, is the same thing going to happen again? Is Sam Darnold going to be able to play a lot better than he did in that game? I think the thing that we need to have a bit of perspective on, though, is this happens to really good quarterbacks all of the time. So I had a little look. So Peyton Manning had 5 games in his career where he threw 4 interceptions. He even had a 6-interception game in his career. Peyton Manning. Matthew Stafford has had 4 games in his career where he's thrown 4 interceptions. Tom Brady had 6 games in his career where he threw 4 interceptions. So good quarterbacks can have games like this. They can have a meltdown performance. The key is how you respond. So let's see how Sam Darnold's going to respond, not just in the next 3 games, but then after that, when the Rams come to Seattle and they have that rematch.
You know, Rob, I did the same thing. I went and saw Lamar Jackson had one, Purdy had one recently, Goff. I'm trying to like give him some confidence as if he needs it from me, but I did the same thing you did. But let's talk about this defense, man. It was impressive what they were able to do against a Matthew Stafford who entered this game with 20 touchdowns, no interceptions. They didn't really run the football effectively. What'd you like about this defense?
Everything. How could you not like everything? Like the start of the game was a bit weird, that they got that great 4th down stop, and then the offense just gave the ball straight back to the Rams. They were able to get a touchdown. They started off running the ball quite well, which was ominous, but then Seattle just took that away. And Stafford, in fairness, looked a little bit flustered. I think it would have been interesting to see if the Seahawks had actually got a lead in that game, whether the Rams could have done things differently, whether they would have had to force the issue a little bit more, and whether they would have been able to handle that. Because it was like 135 yards, something like that, for Matthew Stafford in a game when every single week he's just looked unstoppable. It's been the MVP leader. I genuinely think after that game, with the way that he played, yes, he avoided the mistakes, didn't really have to do too much. They were ahead quite early on. I think after that game, Jonathan Taylor, for me, looks like he should be the MVP favorite instead of Matthew Stafford, because that was his first real test since week 1 against a serious defense when they played the Texans in week 1 and they played the Seahawks last weekend. And in neither of those games, he's not been that spectacular. He has been able to perform very well against some struggling opponents. So I think the all credit to the Seattle defense. They're continuing to play very, very well. There's so much to like. That looks to me like a championship defense. And now all we need is the offense to get over this performance, get back on track. And if they can pair that up in the next few weeks and get some momentum going into the postseason, then Seattle will have a shot, because this defense is a top-notch defense.
Still some positive with his offense too, right? You got JSN that goes for 105 going into this game. We're looking at Oluwatimi. How's he going to do? You did lose Zabel. Sounds like he's going to be okay. But let's focus on JSN. How is he able to, even in a game where it feels like this offense is struggling, how's he able to still go for 105?
I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you, because he's not the biggest receiver, is he? He's not 6'4". He's not going to run a 4.25 40. He just makes everything look so easy. That's the natural talent of this man is so impressive, because he is calm, he's composed, but he never seems to be too up or too down. Like he just runs his routes. People find it very hard to cover him. He's got a natural instinct and a way to get open. His movements seem very subtle, and he's reliable. That one-handed catch that he made, just how do you make a catch like that? It's just unbelievable. The man should be. If we go back to the scenario I was talking about, let's say that Jonathan Taylor ended up being the MVP. Jackson Smith-Njigba should be Offensive Player of the Year, and it shouldn't even be a debate for me. Now, if Stafford wins MVP or somebody else, there's a good chance that Jonathan Taylor will win Offensive Player of the Year. But he's on cue to break the 2,000-yard barrier for receivers, to be the first ever player to do that. I was asked a question on a different show last week. You know, is it likely that he's going to break this record? And I said, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, there's no doubt. If he stays healthy, he's going to get to 2,000 yards, because there's just this inevitability about him. It doesn't matter what coverage you have, what plan you come into the game, Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to get his yards. And he is playing, if you were to pick sort of the 10 best players at any position in the NFL this season, you'd have to put JSN amongst those 10.
Yeah, and he's gonna clearly break the franchise record maybe in a couple of weeks at 1,303 yards over here for the Seahawks, which is ridiculous. Let's talk about this O-line. How'd you feel they performed? No sacks given up. Olu, I felt like, did okay, and Zabin went down late.
Well, the thing with an offensive line is, unless they play perfectly, unless they play like the 2014 Cowboys, there's always going to be like something that you can point a finger at. And, we've all seen it every single week. There is a snap or two where Anthony Bradford maybe doesn't do something perfectly, and he's getting a lot of criticism for that. What I would say is that just consider how far we've come from a year ago, where every single week the offensive line was a talking point with fans and in the media. It was just not functioning. The offense could not function because of the offensive line. To have another game where there's no sacks, to have another game where, quite frankly, Sam Darnold did not throw those interceptions because he was just under relentless pressure. It was mistakes on his behalf, not maybe using enough anticipation with those throws, forcing things a little bit too much. That gunslinger mentality, which has been so good at times this year, came back to bite him in this game. It's not because of the offensive line. Now, if you could have said at the start of this season, what's the one thing as someone who watches the Seahawks that you would want to see as a big improvement this year, I think most people would have said, I want to see a better offensive line. That's exactly what you've got. And that Gray Zabel news, I must have been a few people who were celebrating like the Seahawks had won a game yesterday when Mike McDonald came out and said they've dodged one there in that it's not a serious injury. It's week to week. That's really positive news. They need to get him back on the field as soon as possible. This is majorly encouraging, not just for this season, but for the future. You now have at least 3 building block young players for your offensive line. There's still a chance that whether it's Olu, whether it's Sundell, maybe even Anthony Bradford, I'm not going to completely rule that one out, could also be part of a young core for the future. And the one thing the Seahawks have never had in my time following the team is consistency up front. They change the center every year. They've had a different center for the last 5 years. Eventually, you've got to put some roots down. You've got to have a line that knows each other. They know their teammates. They know how they're going to work. They're working 5 as 1. So it looks as if they're getting into that place now. And this is just possibly the most important thing from this season, whatever happens the rest of the way.
All right, let's talk big picture now. I have to remind myself, Rob, this team is still 7-3. I know that loss hurts, but you're 7-3. You got Tennessee this weekend. You're probably going to go to 8-3. You're in the wild card spot. Did this game change the way that you view this team and your expectations for them?
No, absolutely not. I've always kind of felt that the Rams and the Seahawks are probably going to split these two games. It was the national radio game that we were covering for the BBC this week. And they asked me for a prediction before, and I said, look, one way or another, I think it's going to be 1-on-1 between the Seahawks and the Rams this year. They're both really good teams. It's a bit of a sitting on the fence answer when you sort of go with a prediction there, but I do think that they're good enough that they're going to split this series. So the fact that the Rams have won this one by 2 points, even when the Seahawks threw 4 interceptions, to me, makes me feel very confident that when they play again on Thursday Night Football in a few weeks' time, the Seahawks will win this game. I think the main thing for me, and this is the one thing that bothers me the most about not winning this game. It's not the Sam Darnold 4 interceptions. I think he'll come over that. And that Ernest Jones post-game interview was absolutely exceptional, by the way. He said everything that needed to be said to draw a line under it as much as you could. And the fact that I've been watching national conversations about Darnold's performance and they've been going to Ernest Jones' press conference and spending 5 minutes on that instead of talking about Darnold shows what an amazing teammate and what an amazing job that was with that press conference. But the main thing for me is they're still looking for a signature win. If you look at the last 2 years, here are the teams that they lost to last year. Detroit, Buffalo, the Rams, the Packers, the Vikings. All of those teams made the playoffs. And they split with the Niners, who were 6-11 but had a whole bunch of injuries. There wasn't a signature win last year. And so far this season, their 3 losses are against the Niners, the Buccaneers, and the Rams. Eventually, they're going to have to play a team, preferably in the NFC, who is a contender, that's a guaranteed playoff team, and they're going to have to win one of these games. It's really good that they're blowing out the Saints and the Cardinals and teams like that. They've got to beat somebody like the Rams. They've got to beat somebody like the 49ers, the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Lions. They're going to get an opportunity to do that when they play the Colts and obviously play the Rams down the line and then the Niners again to finish the season, and then they're going to have the playoffs. That's the next step for this team. They've got to beat a really good contender to show, yes, we belong in the conversation for the Super Bowl.
Hey, Mark, we were talking about this game. Obviously, it did not go the Seahawks' way. It was a dreadful day for Sam Darnold, 4 interceptions. Yet we were talking about how to view this game coming out of it. They were within a field goal of winning this game, despite the fact Darnold played as bad a game as maybe he's played in years, gave them 4 opportunities on the Seahawks side of the field and starting drives at the 3-yard line, the 25, the 35. I mean, they gave them every opportunity on their home field, and they were still in a position to win this at the end of the game on the final play of the game. Does that tell you more about the Seahawks or the Rams?
More about the Seahawks. I was thoroughly like, hey, listen, man, you turn it over 4 times like that. You throw 4 interceptions. You give a team a short field 4 times, and you ought to lose by 21 points. And the fact that the Rams only put up 21, I think they had 12 first downs. And that was a dominant performance by a dominant defense once again. And listen, that's one of those you walk away from and you look at Sam Darnold and say, hey, dude, like, you don't have to prove anything to us. Like, if you just protect the football, we win that game. You don't want to throw it 44, 45 times. And I understand you got behind, you had to. But if they're just more efficient in the red zone and Sam doesn't turn the ball over, you probably walk out of SoFi and you win by double digits. Like, I walked away from that game going, wow, 4 turnovers and you only lost like that. And listen, I know there are no moral victories. I get that. But there are some losses that you walk away from going, we're a damn good football team and we can learn a lot from this. And from Sam's, I look at Sam and I go, he came into a situation with the Jets, then went to Carolina, then went to, the rehab year at San Francisco. And then all of a sudden he has a great year at Minnesota, but they decide to go with, Cap Nyblack instead. And so, there's a lot of disappointment along the way. You don't got anything to prove. Like, you don't. You have earned it. You are really playing great football. You just got to clean up those mistakes, and you don't have anything to prove to your organization. I think that's the takeaway for me, is that you guys, even at 7-3 right now with a loss to the Rams, you guys are in control of your own quote unquote destiny when it comes to winning this division.
You got a pretty awesome painting going in the background there, Mark, over your right shoulder.
Oh, is it? Is the sun's going down here in Denver, Colorado?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at that painting. Looks like something you would have done.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any. We were selling our house, so we took down all the window treatments, and now we just got exposed windows all over the place. So,
are you moving out of state?
No, you know what? This is when I was in New York before I got fired. Thanks, Bob, for bringing it up. So, I put the house on the market and went to New York. Thought, hey, man, I got a new TV show. And then they called me up and said, hey, by the way, you no longer work here. So, I had to come sulking back to my house in Colorado. And, woe was me. I lost my job.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of jobs. You're just fine. But
thanks for bringing up that painful memory.
I didn't know the two were associated. I didn't know what was going on. My bad.
Hey,
that's all good.
Bob and I were just going through the NFC and just looking around at some of these teams, and we'll get to the Titans later because it's Mike Lefko, our producer's favorite team. He loves them and champions them always. No, he actually criticizes them. But when you look at the NFC, Mark, you look at that side. I was looking at it kind of going, maybe the Niners, but I look at the Rams and the Eagles and the Seahawks, and that's kind of maybe I'm leaving Detroit out. Record not great, and the 49ers a little bit. But who do you think are the for real teams in the NFC?
Yeah, I think the 3 teams that you mentioned, Philadelphia has not played stellar offensively, and they seem to have some issues with their wide receiver, essentially coming out and saying it's not about wins, it's about me getting stats. And so
terrible,
and that feels like there's a certain amount of dysfunction there, but they're still winning. Holding the Detroit Lions to nine total points. And I know it was a windstorm and everything like that. So, but I still look at those 3 teams that you mentioned. Philadelphia, I still think the Rams are really good. Although what the Seahawks did last night, I think was very impressive. So I think those are the 3 best teams right now in the NFC. I put a notch below that. I'll take Detroit. I'll put them in there. But man, I tell you what, the defensively, man, they're impressive, and they come at you in waves, and they create pressures, and they do a great job of running games up front and all those things, and they've had some injury issues on the back end. Once hopefully they get completely healthy. I still think that the San Francisco 49ers are a notch below them as well. Um, but this is going to be a great race, final 7-8 games of the season, whatever it is.
Is there a dominant team in this league? I know there is record-wise. Dave and I were just talking about it across the board, both conferences. I mean, you got two teams that have won 8 in a row, the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots, and they're both sitting there at 9-2. So record-wise, they're the best in the league. But they look beatable. Everybody looks beatable. There doesn't seem to be that one team you look at and go, man, I don't know who beats these guys. It just feels like a year where there's a lot of parity.
Yeah, I mean, if parity is what you want, it's what you got. There's no question about it. And I think you look at New England right now, what they've been able to do. I still don't think they've given up a running back over 50, 60 yards rushing. I mean, they have really been stellar when it comes to defending the run, what they do on the defensive side of the ball. And then, I mean, it's just the Drake May show. He's been great pushing the ball down the football field, creating explosive plays. And you can say whatever you want about Josh McDaniels as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, that guy is great. So I think New England, to me, has probably been the most consistent in regards to what they do defensively, their philosophy, and being able to create big plays on the offensive side of the ball. Hey, listen, going into the game Sunday for Denver, I mean, we were criticizing Denver. The national media was criticizing, but locally here, we were criticizing how bad and how putrid their offense has been. Minus, Dallas doesn't really count because they give up, big plays like it's their job. And Cincinnati's a mess. So I don't really like those two offensive explosions against two really bad teams. But other than that, they were really bad offensively, minus a couple of fourth quarters where they were extraordinary. And so there was a lot of criticism. And to see them come right out of the gate on Sunday, you'll give up a sack the first play of the game and then put a 14-play field goal drive together. And what they did against a really good defense in Kansas City, I thought it was amazing. And I thought, if their offense can continue to grow off this and gain some confidence off of this, then I could see Denver with that defense becoming, the best team in the AFC or one of the best teams in the NFL right now. And then, ultimately, and I talked about this on the Stinking Truth podcast, and I'd like to get your guys' opinion. Like, now that I see, Kansas City falling to 5-5, do you think they can hold off the Raiders for last place? Man, I love the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are pissing down their legs. It makes me so happy. I hope they lose every game. Every single game, I hope they lose.
How's the fan base handling on social media? Probably not well, I'm guessing.
Oh, man. They're very mad at me right now. The Kansas City fans are, you put Vaseline on your jersey. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've been killing them. It's been great. It's been a great 24 hours. It really has.
Man, if you ever did a game there, you would have to have a security detail. There's no question about it. Man.
Oh, no, I think they love me. You know what? Sure. They just love to hate me. But ultimately, like I said, man, I'm a gracious loser, but I'm an absolute jerk when it comes to winning. Yeah. So I let all of Kansas City know. All of them.
Hey, Mark, you did the Titans. Who'd the Titans play again? Haven't quite got into that. Okay, yeah. We played that team. Yeah.
yeah. It was a.
What about the Titans?
It was. I told them going into it. I told my crew. They're like, "What do you think about the game?" I go, "Hey, listen, the Titans play really stellar defense for a while, and then they get worn out because their team is just 3 and out. And I said, so it's going to be, I guarantee it'll be a 1-score game going into the third quarter. And I was right. I just didn't realize there was only going to be 1 score. It was 3-0. And so, that part I didn't have down, but I knew it was going to be a 1-score game. So yeah, both teams are very challenged offensively. The Tennessee Titans, I do think they've got a pretty decent defense. I think Cam Ward was, pretty exciting. He's just a raw raw kid, and he's got a lot of learning to do. But I tell you what, the Houston Texans defense is legit. All three levels of that defense, man, they can play, and so they've got a big time defense. But I just don't think they have enough offense to challenge the Indianapolis Colts for that division crown.